you shop? Big Lots? Because that's where I shop.
Actually, Dress Barn. I shop at the Dress Barn.
Yeah, well, Dress Barn is owned by Big Lots. Now, what's this on your head?
It's a mirror. I don't want to talk about it really. This is the most disconcerting thing I've ever worn in front of my face.
But can you really see yourself?
That's all I can see. Like I'm trying to look using my periphery, but when I do that, it seems like someone is putting their face up against my face, and it makes me uncomfortable.
You can take it off if you want, so we can have a normal conversation, or you could just keep wearing it the rest of the day. Whoa. Yeah, just do it like that. So, yeah, it's like a bird can see himself.
Okay.
Like a bird can see himself.
Now,
Narcissist.
I'm interested. I'm interested to see what those of you who decided to take the test got on the test. I mean, I don't know how how comfortable you would be with sharing your results. I think that both of us had when I looked at the questions and the nature of the questions, I was like, I'm going to score higher than average on this. I know that. There are questions that I'm like, I'm going to seem like a jerk by the way I answer this, but I'm just trying to be honest. I think that a lot of it has to do with it, like Link was saying, oh my goodness, there's Jen in there. He's getting you and the guys in the reflection, and you didn't even know it.
Great. You're out of focus though. This is what they do while we're doing the show, guys. Look at them over there.
Just sit there. But I want you, and I want to know. I want to know what you think about this, so you can pay attention.
Let me see if I
know you can't do two things at once. So
I'm actually doing this really well. Eddie's on his phone.
I'm doing this one thing really well right now. The whole idea that you want to be honest and you want to answer these questions, but the type of personality that leads you to want to entertain people on a regular basis, those people score significantly higher. That's what the studies show. But I do think it takes a little bit of narcissism in order to, like, okay, for instance, you know Rob Watson back home?
Sure.
Incredible musician. The one thing that he would never, I mean, I think he's one of the most talented people I've ever met, but the one thing I've always said about Rob is I was like, Rob, you don't sell yourself hard enough.
Right.
You know, it's because he doesn't have that.
He's anti-narcissistic.
Right, he's actually a good guy.
He's sub-narc.
My theory is if you're actually a good guy and talented, nobody's gonna find out. You have to be a little bit of a narcissist and good at something in order for people to find out about it. What do you think about that theory? Because you have to be okay with self-promotion. He hates self-promotion.
I mean, I'd say that's now true of the music industry, and that's always been true of entertainment, because if we didn't promote ourselves, no one was gonna promote us. I mean, even now to a certain degree.
And you have to think that you're worth promoting, which means you have an inflated self-image.
Or
right?
I think we talk ourselves into, and we inflate the image of Rhett and Link as a brand, and it's not, but we don't take it personally. Like, we both speak of Rhett and Link as if it's a thing, and it kind of puts it on something, so it's not just like, I'm building you up today, or vice versa.
Yeah, we don't have like a session where we build each other up. Maybe we should.
No.
So there's that. And here's another thing.
There's a few questions that we might unpack, but.
Look, I want to talk about this article from Slate.com.
Oh yeah.
Where they talked about researchers unveiling a simpler method for determining whether someone was a narcissist or not. Mm-hmm. You simply
instead of taking a 40-question test.
You just ask them if they're a narcissist. People who are willing to admit that they are narcissistic are more narcissistic than others.
I think it's narcissistic.
Probably actually are more narcissistic.
Ah.
As we just demonstrated. But maybe they're also more honest. But
narcissists tend to be more honest about their narcissism because of their narcissism, is what is the premise of that.
But the people that I know, and I do know some people that would be clinically diagnosed as having narcissistic personality disorder. And I'm not talking about you, Link. I'm talking about some other people that I'm not going to talk about.
Yourself.
The way that they live their lives.
I'm 1 point more than you, I guess.
The way that they live. no, seriously, the way that they live their lives and the way their relationships are characterized is drastically different than the way that you carry out your relationships or I carry out my relationships. In other words, their narcissism has been the downfall of every single relationship that they have, and it's very obvious once you're like, oh, okay, I get it. As opposed to just somebody who's self-confident and thinks, I'm good at something and I want you to know about it. I feel like there's a distinct difference. That's why I don't necessarily think a high score on the test is like, you need to go to the psychologist right now because your life is about to fall apart.
Well, there's a difference between high self-image and then an overinflated ego and then narcissism, I think is what you've kind of laid out. And it takes a certain amount of confidence. Again, I'm still being a little defensive to be an entertainer. There's certain, we're all self-conscious about things, but as an entertainer, you have to overcome those things to put yourself out there. But that can certainly, there's a lot of factors, but even someone who's got an inflated ego and who's really annoying to be around is not necessarily a narcissist, because they're not sabotaging relationships because the world revolves around them.
Right, because one thing is most narcissists are great manipulators, right? So when you're in a relationship with them, regardless of the nature of whether it's romantic or they're in your family or whatever, what you find is that everything that they do, you have to start running through this filter of, hold on, am I being manipulated? Like, do they want something out of me for themselves? Are they trying to do something or put me in a situation right now that is going to elevate them and bring me down? And, I think that there's evidence. So in other words, I think if you get a high score on the test, you would go to see a professional, and that professional would ask you some questions about your relationships and probably want to speak to some of the people who are in your life. And they'd be like, oh yeah, he's kind of overconfident, and I wouldn't say he's modest, but he hasn't wrecked our relationship. Because
I just wonder how many clinically diagnosable narcissists would actually elect to take the test that we just took. I think it's kind of a self-defeating thing. I can't see an extreme narcissist wanting to take the test. I don't want to know if I'm a narcissist. I don't care.
No, but I think if you're a narcissist, you might be a little bit proud of the fact that you're a narcissist.
So you'd want to take the test in order to ace it.
You'd be like, yeah, I manipulate people. Yeah, I get people to do what I want. I can make people believe anything. And I'm proud of it. I'm not saying that it's like Eddie looked up at a time where it looked like
Eddie was on his phone.
I was admitting that. No, I'm characterizing someone who might be a narcissist.
No, I was going to ask who in here is a narcissist. Besides me, of course, all of a sudden. Mr. 18.
Did anybody else here in the room
Stevie, you really strike me as a narcissist.
Take the test?
Yeah.
You took it?
Oh, Jen.
Do you want to share your score?
Share your score?
15.
Okay, your average.
15.
I would have thought that you would have scored in the 12 to 15 range.
I thought I was going to score higher.
Well, I'll tell you right now. There's a reason why we interview people before we hire them, because we don't hire narcissists. And I think that, you can tell in the first 20 minutes. I think I can sniff out that narcissism. And ironically, that's a question on the test. Can you read people like a book? And if you say yes, that's in the narcissist
Can you
column.
smell a narcissist?
But it's also individualization, which you have
Me?
as your top 5 string, right?
Oh, yeah, to be able to read people like a book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I make it a practice to not hire narcissists, except for Eddie. What are you going to do about that? The narcissist.
How are you going to address that?
Oh, you took the test too? You got a 12?
It's okay. I didn't take it.
Now, if you get too low, is that a problem?
Yeah, it's a problem.
Average.
Okay, here's an example of one. When people compliment me, I sometimes get embarrassed. I know that I'm good because everybody keeps telling me so. So I definitely get embarrassed when people compliment me. Now the interesting thing is like if you go to a thing like, okay, right now, GMM is doing really well. So when we go to a place like the Streamies, people come up and they're like, oh, I'm really enjoying the show, guys. Really like what you're doing. So you hear people say that, and so you're like, well, maybe it is going well. But then when they say that, I'm like, I want to change the subject because I don't know how to respond to it. So I definitely put, when people compliment me, I get embarrassed because I was like, thanks. I didn't know what to say when they said that, as opposed to I was like, that's right, it is good. And that's because of us, and we're narcissists.
Well, I didn't know how to answer that one because when someone gives me a compliment, I kind of, there's a good default, and that's to say thank you.
Well, but I answered, there's a different one about compliments. Compliments embarrass me. I like to be complimented. I chose I like to be complimented because
I like to be complimented.
They do embarrass me, but I'm not going to say that I don't like being complimented.
Sure.
And I was just like, if I'm being really, it's almost 50-50, but if I'm being really honest, I'm going to say I think I like compliments more than I am embarrassed by them. So I'm just going to be honest and say that.
So if you took the test and you made higher than me, you should write that in the comments so you can be publicly degraded. Just kidding.